Good morning, everybody. There is something going on in Germany that isn't being reported much in the mainstream media at all. And there isn't much about it on social media either, because there are bigger things that people are talking about. Obviously, in the UK, there is the Tory leadership contest, which will decide who will be the next Prime Minister. There's the situation in the Netherlands. There's a situation in Sri Lanka. But what's going on in Germany is very, very significant. So Russia has cut off gas to Germany through the biggest pipeline that supplies gas to Germany, which is called Nord Stream 1. Now, this is not unusual at the moment because every year they close down this pipeline for 10 days or so to do some maintenance. But this year there's a problem. One of the parts that needs to be repaired, which I believe is a huge turbine, which is essential, it's the biggest part that is installed over in the start of the pipeline up near St. Petersburg, that you need in order to push the gas through the pipeline, has been taken out, and it's in Canada. And it's being repaired in Canada there. And Russia is saying, well, we can't open the pipeline again because we don't have this part. But Canada has said, until yesterday, I believe, they couldn't send this part back to Russia because there are sanctions on Russia. So they're basically in a stalemate situation where they've closed the pipeline and they won't be able to reopen it properly because they don't have the part to install that would ensure the gas can be pumped safely from Russia to Germany. So there's lots of anxiety in Germany at the moment about whether this pipeline, gas pipeline, will be reopened as normal after 10 days of maintenance. Now, also to add into the mix there, Ukraine and Zelensky and his regime is trying to put pressure on Canada not to return the part to Russia, and is trying to put pressure on Germany not to take any more gas through this pipeline because they want to uphold the sanctions on Russia, because Germany is now seeing that sanctions on Russia are hurting Germany far, far more than they're hurting Russia, because if they don't get gas coming through this pipeline, the whole country is going to close down. And they're worried that when it comes to whenever June the 22nd, 23rd, sorry, July the 22nd, 23rd, when the pipeline is due to open, it just simply won't open. And Russia is going to leave the gas turned off. And if that happens, well, their industry will just wind down very, very quickly. They're already saying that they don't have enough gas to last them, more than a couple of months. Because they've got reserves, obviously, but they're going to be used up very, very quickly. And it's still the summertime. So come the winter time, when it gets colder, there won't be any gas left in the whole country. There may not be gas coming through this pipeline, and therefore German industry will close down. People's heating in their houses will be offline because there simply won't be any gas in the pipeline. So Germany is staring down the barrel of a gun, which it completely didn't need to be doing, because this conflict in Ukraine was so avoidable, and it could have been avoided if NATO countries had not been poking the bear for 8 years in eastern Ukraine, training National Socialists to wage war against ethnic Russians in the east of Ukraine. I've said all that before. Many people have commented on that before. Gonzalo Lira, Duran, UK Column, Military Summary is a good website to see what's going on there. They're pacifists. They're against conflict in total, but you can see what's going on every day. So we don't need to go into that again. We've mentioned that before, but the consequences of this conflict and the sanctions on Russia have completely and totally backfired on the Western countries, and particularly Germany. That is now looking like it's already in a recession. It could go into a collapse. And that wouldn't be good for anybody. You know, that really wouldn't be good for anybody. Well, one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century is that the UK and Germany and Russia have fought each other in various combinations, and that enmity has been built up between our three countries. Wouldn't it be so much better if we could have a world where the UK, Germany, Russia were all friends, Christian nations being friends together and not fighting each other? Obviously, you had National Socialism, you had Bolshevism, and you had communism rise up in Russia, in the Soviet Union. So, you know, that's all part of the history of the 20th century. We know. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have stood against those things. I'm just saying it's a tragedy that those things happened. And the situation we're in now is that there's hangovers from all those times, and there's people in governments who want to continue to keep attrition and keep enmity going, when what we should be trying to do is get back together, get round the table. We may not be friends for a long time. I'm sure this trust has completely disappeared from the West. You know, Russia and the BRICS nations have no trust of the West at all now, because of the sanctions they put on Russia and the way that they're freezing and trying to steal money and assets from Russian people, Russian citizens, whether, you know, that they say are connected to the Putin government. So, you know, that's a whole issue that trust has broken down. But at least, you know, the least thing we can try to do is to end the conflict, come to an agreement somewhere, somehow, and at least get back to being civil with each other. Might not be friendly, but we can at least be civil and stop saying things like Liz Truss, our terrible foreign secretary in the UK, said that we want to cripple the Russian economy. I mean, what an idiotic thing to say. I mean, really. And it's backfired. I don't want to cripple the Russian economy. I don't want to deliver collective punishment on the Russian people. You know, whatever you think of Putin, it's not right to try to destroy another country's economy and to continue to go around the world acting like the world's policeman. And this is a role that, you know, is a Cold War role that America took on itself. And, you know, you could argue that, well, there was communism in the Soviet Union. That's gone now. We had the opportunity to become friends with Russia, and the people in the governments in the West didn't take that. In fact, they did the opposite. You know, so we are where we are. But I've digressed a little bit from starting off talking about Germany. But to come back to that, it's going to be very, very difficult times ahead for that country if things don't change. And not just for Germany, but for all of Europe as well, because, you know, people are now very, very anxious as to what's going to happen. There's media articles all over the place in Germany questioning, are we going to get the gas back? What will happen if we don't get the gas back? Already, governments and states are putting out advice to people saying, only take a shower once a week. You know, don't use hot water. And if you do shower, just watch little bits of your body. Even to say, this is ridiculous. One of these articles said, you smell better if you don't have a shower. I mean, that's just absolute nonsense, isn't it? I mean, no one has ever tried to suggest that before. Utterly ludicrous, but this is the kind of propaganda the state and the state backed media and sponsored media is putting out to people in Germany to try to change their behaviour, because they realise they may not have any heating for their homes or any energy to keep their industry going, and industry may collapse in Germany very, very quickly if they don't get this gas from Russia turned back on. I mean, what may happen? I mean, some people who are commentators think that they will turn the gas back on because that will leave them something in hand for the winter for negotiation. So they'll probably turn it back on, but not up to 100%. They may just turn it back on to 50%. And the Duran channel, some of you may know, gives very, very good analysis of that and sort of future strategy that might happen in future. Hypotheses and thoughts about what might happen in the future. So they're a very good source of information as to what's going on in this conflict. But there you go. So keep an eye on Germany, keep an eye on Germany's economy, because if they go, the whole Eurozone will collapse as well. And the value of the euro has already gone down. It's now €1 to $1 for the first time. The euro looks like it's going to sink in value below the value of the dollar, and the dollar is it's pretty awful. I mean, the value of the dollar has just gone down and down and down in real terms because of the huge inflation. It's absolutely incredible that the euro is sinking faster than the dollar. So that's just something that is very important that's happening, that doesn't seem to be being mentioned too much at all, but it's certainly something to keep our eye on. Okay, thanks for listening, everybody. God bless you all.